This is something I've been working on for a lifetime. At this point in my life, I'm 69 years old. I've had years and years, oh my God, more years than you can even imagine, of experience in business. All the way from starting as a call center agent way back in the 70s to being a CEO and president as I am today. But you do have a need to learn and gain information from some of the experience, hopefully, that I've had that'll give you some benefits. That's just from all of the experience I've had, all of the time put in, all of the risks I've taken and the failures I've faced and the success that I seem to have found. So being the guy that I am, I started writing a book because I figured, okay, well, maybe someday someone will see this somewhere, pick it up, it'll plant a seed for them, and they'll get some of the lessons that I've worked hard to learn. So with that, the book is called Lessons I've Learned in No Particular Order. Join in, listen, send me some questions. At least I can give you my opinion on things and maybe give you some insight. It's really something that I wish I had when I was growing up in the business. I did grab onto a couple mentors, and all unbeknownst to them, those are the people that I learned with. So let me share with you some of the lessons I've learned in no particular order. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. This is the first of maybe 52 of these a year where I'm going to get the chance to talk to you, share with you some of my experience, strength, and hope, and see if that gives you some insight and some benefits in terms of what you do in your life. I'm Steve Biederman. I am the president of NobelBiz. We are one of the leading companies as a carrier and a contact center software provider to the call center, contact center world. We love what we're doing. You've probably seen us all over the place on LinkedIn, other social media. We're intent on bringing good content to you. Well, look, as I said in my intro, I've been around a long, long time. Over the years, I've developed the ideas and ideals that have really helped me be successful. And at this point in my life, I really recognize that I should put them somewhere. In other words, what I've gained and what I've learned should not just be for me, but it should be for everybody. So here I am today in my hotel room, starting this show with you. So I've jotted down about 60 different lessons I've learned. Let me give you a little bit about my background. I started in a contact center in 1978. I was in a room with a smoke-filled room where we picked up the telephone and we had a list of people that we ripped out from the phone book. We had to make 6 sales a day, not for commission, but just simply so that we could keep our jobs. At that time, we were selling lawn care treatments. I was just happy as heck to have a job, and I really didn't have any experience whatsoever. Over the years, I've been intent on improving myself. I didn't have a deep education, so a lot of what I did, I had to learn practically. I had to learn through reading. I had to learn through grabbing onto people that hopefully would teach me and help me. Nobody reached out to me, though, and said, Steve, I want to teach you this. So really, I was on my own. It seems to me that if I'd have had something like this, it would have at least given me direction. And this isn't the world according to Steve. These are just some practical lessons. So NobelBiz is in a very mature industry. In that industry, we have over 200 companies that we compete with relatively on an even playing field. So it becomes, how does somebody choose between one company and another? How does a contact center, as an example, choose a company and a service provided from somebody that's been there 20 years, that may or may not be considered the company in the industry. How do we make a living, and how do we provide to our customers what they need, which is mission critical? I mean, we are the communication tool within a business. I love that, because that gives us the ability to really test ourselves and take on the ownership, and really build a platform that our customers can have success. But it also requires a lot of intention and strength in terms of how we process, how we approach our business. But that, again, the key is, how do people pick me instead of 199 or more other companies? So today we're going to talk about something that I've sort of developed over the years, which is, as it says here, the art of being and remaining memorable. Look, if I am not memorable, who's going to remember me? If I am not doing the things that are repeatable and sustainable, who's going to care? It's me that has to create the opportunities out there and take advantage of them, that puts me in front of people day in and day out. So how do you do that? Well, in my world, I believe you do it by building an engine. And it's a communication engine. And it starts with finding one tactic, just a single tactic that you can repeat, that is sustainable, and that it's affordable. So those three pieces: sustainable, affordable, repeatable. If you can find any tactic that you can communicate with your audience that has those three pieces, it means that every day, every week, every month, you're going to be able to repeat it over and over and over, and you'll make your impression upon the world. Now, look, you don't want to do it in a way that is lack of interest. You don't want to do it in a way that is just self-centered. You want to speak to people. You want to give people your honesty. So the first thing in your tactic to remember is, be who you are. Don't be who you think you'd like to be, but be who you are, and let people get to know you. That's the first tactic. The second thing you want to do is find a second tactic. Same thing: repeatable, sustainable, affordable. Layer that tactic in. And so if you look at this as an intentional approach, let's just take over a 12-month period, and you say to yourself, every month, I'm going to invent another tactic that has those three pieces, and I'm going to do them over and over. So would you have 10 or 12 tactics now running all at the same time over that period of time? Of course you would. Never look at a tactic as a one-off. In my opinion, do not pick tactics that are singular. Pick a tactic that is repeatable, and then be focused on it, and make sure you do it well. This is one of our tactics, this live podcast. This is an example. Now, we've been doing this for a few years, so we have probably 50 tactics that we're repeating, sustaining, and affording to be able to do, and that's a critical piece. So you do this, you lay out the pieces, you build an engine of communication. It gets bigger and bigger. And then at the end of the day, people will begin to recognize you. People will begin to know you. In my own case, and let's just look at LinkedIn. I have almost 11,000 in my network. I have over 11,000 as followers. And really, a couple years ago, I had nothing. I didn't have any of that. We have some thousands of people at Nobel Biz, and all of this was not built to say Steve needs an audience. It was built on the ideal of the repeatable, affordable, and sustainable tactics. And in layering them in, naturally you're going to get things. So in your industry, you want to be able to speak to the audience about two things. You want to speak about the idea that they need things to learn, they need to be mentored, they need to be coached, and you care enough to be able to do that. And then you need to be able to give them quality in what you're offering them. So the quality is important, but the quantity is important also. So this is a lesson today about being and remaining memorable. I didn't talk to you about use this particular tactic or that particular tactic because it's cool and people will love it, or don't do this. I'm not even saying do this live podcast of your own. It doesn't matter. You do not judge your tactics. Don't judge them on the interest to it. Don't judge them on the response you get to it. Simply layer and layer and layer. If you have a no judgment platform of communication where you have multiple tactics, then what you're going to have is you're going to speak to your audience in way different ways. Remember this, an audience is not something that you know what they're thinking at every given minute. So you have to do a lot of things all the time to speak to people in their world, in their mindset, in their timing. You know, we manufacture and sell a product that is not an impulsive buy. The good news with that is it's not an impulsive buy. And that forces us to be able to retain and maintain our connectivity to the audience. So remember this, any tactic that has integrity, regardless of the response you get, as long as it's repeatable and sustainable and you can afford it, do it. Do it. Don't stop because you don't know who and where and what you're talking to, who you're talking to at any given time. Sorry. So just let the audience sit there, provide them great value repeatedly. And I wish I could tell you more. I wish I could tell you that there are great tactics that people respond to. I'm going to tell you a little bit about NobleBiz. So over the years, we have developed an audience. We've been in business 20 years, and we developed an audience. I would call it a boutique audience. It was an audience specific to what we did at that time. And what we did from the beginning was we were a carrier specific to contact centers because we understood contact centers. We knew that carriers didn't love the kind of traffic that contact centers provided, because it was short duration, it was millions of phone calls, took up a lot of bandwidth. The carriers really like the idea of conversational, long conversations. That's where they make their money. So nobody was intent from a carrier side on beginning to work with contact center. So we decided, because we are a carrier, that we can speak to that specific audience. And over the years, we developed a pattern and what I said is a slice of that industry, a boutique slice of that industry. Now, the truth of the matter is, we didn't need to do much advertising. And over the years, we didn't do a lot of advertising. Then about 6 years ago, we began to go into the contact center technology space. So listen, we had been building software on top of our carrier to help our customers improve their contact rates, have better quality, be able to afford to run their business with this high hard cost. And through word of mouth, people began to learn about us. But now we went in addition to that, to be able to get in the cloud and offer what we call Omni Plus, which is an omni media solution to how you want to communicate. So the question is, would people just jump to us because they'd seen us on the carrier side for so long? Well, the answer was no. And although word of mouth helped us to get to a certain point, that word of mouth was not necessarily going to help us as we went forward. So our website wasn't getting a lot of hits. We weren't dependent upon those things, we felt. We were sustaining long-term residual income and, all good with that, right? But we forgot that there were many ways to communicate. So once we came out with a product we really felt would benefit the customer, the contact center, and combine it with our carrier, we said, well, that's a message that people are going to really, I think it'll resonate for people. So what we did with that is we said, how do we get now this message out? How do we convince the industry that we're not only a carrier, that we're much more than a carrier? And in fact, the combination of our now technology with being a carrier puts us right at the top of the ability to service the contact center. So what do? We hadn't been advertising. Our website wasn't getting hits. We didn't have a page, in fact, on LinkedIn, Facebook, or elsewhere. So what do? Here's what we did. We sat in a meeting and we talked about the different ideas that we had. Well, we said, let's go to trade shows. Okay, well, boy, they're expensive. Let's write some articles. Okay, but where do we distribute them? And we began to go through one after the other, and we were judging each tactic while in this meeting in terms of the value it presented. I finally said, I'm hearing a lot of good comments. I'm hearing a lot of tactics. I'm also hearing a lot of costs. I'm not sure I can afford these tactics. And do I really want to spend $25,000 or $10,000 for a trade show, for a one-time event that may or may not work? And the answer was no, I didn't really want to do that. And in fact, I'll tell you this, when we were going to trade shows, other than meeting our customers, we weren't getting a lot of activity. We certainly weren't getting sales that came out of that. People weren't saying, when I get to that trade show, I'm going to go see NobelBiz. So instead of picking and choosing and judging how we were going to do it, we went back to, again, I'll repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, to an affordable, sustainable, repeatable method. And we just started layering in one tactic after the other, after the other. So we did this we've really done this, as you know, for about 3 years now. Actually, about 4 years now. Now, here's a way that you can understand whether it's working or it's not working. And by the way, it's incredibly, it's not cost less, but it's very affordable. So before the pandemic, we were going to trade shows. As I said, people weren't running over to us. They weren't filling our booth. We had plenty of good customers, and we always visited with them. But there was no balance. There was no revenue that we were adding from that trade show. Now, after the pandemic, and we had been layering in these multiple tactics, as I said, over 50 tactics over and over. You've seen us everywhere. Come on, you know that. So we've been layering in these tactics. What happens? We go to some trade shows this year. Our salespeople are like, I don't know what's happened. Everybody's pouring over to us. Everybody's coming. People want to see what we have. People seem to know us. What in the world changed? Well, there wasn't a single thing that changed. There was many things that changed. We kept adding and adding and adding on. Here's how we did it. You have two types of tactics that you want to look at. One is cost less and one is cost full. Okay, you want to focus on the cost less tactics. And those are the tactics like this one. Is this one costing me money? Not in the very direct sense. I don't have to pay LinkedIn to do this. I can do this over and over and speak to an audience. And that's a cost less tactic. So am I going to repeat that? Yeah, over and over and over and over. When I send out emails, I put content together, but it doesn't cost me very much. It's a cost less tactic. Now, what's a cost full tactic? Well, let's go back to trade shows. A trade show is a costful tactic. It is expensive to go to many of the trade shows out there. Come on, you know that. You love going and you fear going at the same time. And you know your management is, or your board or yourself, you're always looking at the cost and praying to God people come to see you. So really the thing is this, I don't want to go to a trade show until I know that people know me. So the lesson we learned before and after pandemic essentially was that suddenly, not suddenly, but over a couple years of tactic and on tactic, we went to a cost-full tactic, a trade show, and people started coming to us, which said to us, we're seeing the benefit of our cost-less tactics. So now we have confidence and we can pepper in some costful tactics with our sustainable approach to cost less tactics. I hope that makes sense to you. And listen, just ask me, call me, text me, link, comment on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to share this information with you too, and even share what tactics we use. There's nothing particularly proprietary about this. It's really something that I think everybody should learn how to do. So it's cost less, cost full, always err on the side of cost less, repeat it, sustain it, and it will be affordable to you. And then once it's working, you'll get the benefit of the peppered in or occasional cost full tactics. Now listen, I've been doing business for just forever. I never really thought I was the smartest guy, the most experienced guy. In many ways, I felt like I was coming from behind with people because I didn't have my master's degree in business. I remember my first management job when I sort of lied my way into a job in management with a multinational company, saying I had experience that in fact I didn't have. So I'm sitting in an office and I was housed with these two other people, and these were MBAs, and they talked a lot of them together. I myself did not have a lot to contribute, and I felt like, wow, these guys seem to know a lot. They seem very comfortable in their skin, and boy, they're doing a lot of talking, back and forth. They weren't really including me. So I was driven by the idea of one thing, that I had to get results. Well, and I sort of came up with this idea in my head that while they're talking, I am just going to go out and try to get results. And so every day I endeavored to do just that. And in fact, my job in those days was marketing a product. In those days, it was a product to business to consumer. And it was the same thing. My boss didn't give me much money, and I had to improve the business. So while they were talking, I began to invent these non-judgmental tactics, and I layered them in, layered them in, layered them in. And I always like to say that my success came while people were talking, I was doing. And then over the years, I built up my experience, and the only thing that people cared about when it came right down to it was Biederman going to give me results, or is he just going to talk? And so I was driven by the idea of results, and through that, I began to learn a lot of things that worked. And I learned that I began to write them down, and I learned of what I believe in. It was a really important thing to understand what I believed in. I was in Pakistan back in, I think, 2005 and again 2006. And I got on a show there that was similar to the Today Show or our Good Morning America shows that you see in the US. And they began to talk to me, and we had an office there in Pakistan, and they were asking me what I thought. What did I think of the social situation? What did I think of the political situation? And I had a heck of a time getting through those interviews. I was so uncomfortable. When I flew back home, I was still uncomfortable, and I couldn't sleep. I just stayed up. It was like over 10-hour flight, more than one actually. And I began to think, geez, I've got to figure out what I believe in. And I realized I'd been so focused on results that I didn't even know what I believed in. So I began to lay out, and I actually just disciplined-wise wrote out, what do I believe in with this issue? Not necessarily business. Some was business, some was social, some was political, the world today, whatever it was. I began to lay out what I believed in, whether it was family, whether it was business, whether it was social, political, or other, I'm sure. And I realized, my God, I have a lot of things that are important to me. And I was shocked because I'd never stopped to do it. And I got this huge list of things. And I realized that I was beginning to learn what I believed in. When I began to understand what I believed in, management changed for me. The ability to manage people, to improve the lot for everybody around me organizationally, came down to knowing what I believed in. And through that, it leads to what we're going to talk about next week, which is a lesson I've learned, which is how to get comfortable saying yes, and in fact, be uncomfortable saying no. How many of you know people that when you go to them, or you've worked for people and you go with an idea, that you can almost predict that they're going to find something wrong with the idea, or they're going to patronize you and put the idea off to the side? My belief is everybody's got input. Everybody has value. And if you know what you believe, the value they bring you will resonate with you logically. And when people ask for something, they're doing it with the best intention. So start to get comfortable with the idea of saying yes. And every time you say no, every time, ask yourself, why did I do that? What, am I the smartest guy in the room? No. Am I the best at this? No, never. Everybody is good at something. So next week, that's what we're going to talk about. I see that we've had some questions and comments here. Let me refer to some. Let's just see. This question is about authenticity. How would you use authenticity as a strong foundation for your business relationship? It's the only thing, authenticity. Stop being who you're not. Get to know what you are, what you believe in. Tell people what you believe in and be sincere, because anything else is very easy to see. So stay authentic. It's the only way to do anything. I think you'll see that with us. Listen, not everybody loves Steve Biederman, but they would say that I'm authentic. You know, I'm very transparent. I believe in people. I believe in organization. I believe in process. I believe in getting comfortable saying yes and not being comfortable saying no, or being uncomfortable saying no. So listen, with that, I hope that this will help you learn over the next year or two, however long we can continue to sustain and afford and repeat this. And this is the first one. So I look forward to next week, same time. Let's get together. Let's chat it up. In the meantime, if you have any questions, just feel like you can reach out to me. I am at steve.biederman, BEDERMAN, at nobelbiz.com. Just reach out. Go to our website. I think you'll like our website because it's got a ton of great content. And it's www.nobelbiz.com. And just browse through it. I think you're going to like it. We've built it really as a what I would call a recreational site to go and learn. Certainly, we'd love to have you as a customer, but more importantly, we'd love to have you as a friend. So thanks again for joining me today. I look forward to the future. You take care.